And just like that, once again, the Boruto 2 Blue Vortex series is flipped on top of its head, because what the heck is going on here, fam? What? Amado has been watching Kawaki via his eyes this entire time and has access to his entire physicality. An in-depth look on how Gaara was defeated by one of the latest villains of the series. Boruto and Kawaki having that crazy conversation on the Hokage monument. And then there's Code, who took another L. Yeah, there's probably going to be a rant in this video somewhere, so look forward to that. But just in general, Boruto 2 Blue Vortex chapter 15 yet again delivers excellence and just in general advancement to this story, because yeah, some stuff is happening. And before we continue, hit that subscribe button and that bell. I'd greatly appreciate it, and you get more updates on the world of anime and manga in general. We start off with the cover page of Ryu, aka the Shinju version of Shinki, and he had massive swag, massive drip. Homie was looking like he was ready to scream out Kagura Bachi. No, seriously, the art on that one looked great, and it was kind of dope that they actually went with a villain type of aspect, because they could have easily went with a Boruto or Kawaki cover because of like the conversation they had in this chapter, but they made sure to give a good look to one of the latest villains, and I ain't mad at it. But the chapter essentially starts off where it cuts back to a flashback of how Gaara and the Sand Village fell, which once again, that's a pretty big deal. And while yes, it is a mirroring of what happened in Naruto Shippuden of Gaara taking the L against Deidara and the Sand Village falling shortly into the series, this one in particular, I felt as though while yes, it was still doing a similar plot thread, for the most part, I really loved to see how it was done in terms of the relationship between Shinki and Gaara, because of course Matsuri and a bunch of claw grimes came to the Sand Village, which it's kind of crazy to think that an entire village fell at the hands of only one of the Shinju and a bunch of claw grimes. Like, just take that in for a second. It wasn't Jura, Hidari, and Ryu and all of them. No, it was literally Matsuri, a Moegi clone on top of that. But at this particular point where we see the fight start, essentially they've already been going at it. Gaara has been pierced in the stomach. He's really down bad, and essentially he sealed the kids in a bunch of sand and tells them, hey, it's an order, you gotta leave. Because at this particular point, Gaara already has accepted that, yeah, he can't take out Matsuri. So just take that in of the level of threat that we're facing, where Gaara, Kazekage of the Hidden Sand, at the hands of one of the Shinju has fallen. Likewise with having some of his people there, that Shinki is pretty freaking strong. He has the Iron Sand that we've seen in Boruto, and just in general, you can only imagine with the time skip that he's pretty freaking strong. And even they got destroyed. But Matsuri basically says, yo, I just came for Boruto and his accomplices. I don't care about y'all. Y'all can go, whatnot. That's all I came for. Which at face value, you'd think, oh, that's just a throwaway line. But considering the fact that we've seen Boruto and Shinki kind of have some sort of relationship, even if it was just anime only stuff in the past. And then likewise where we saw that one scene of a flashback of Boruto during the time skip, where it seemed as though potentially he was surrounded by some sand shinobi. Now, I don't know if the manga is going to expound upon it or not, but I'm betting that the anime will, that Boruto at some point in his travels, whether it be after Sasuke but before Koji, he came across the Sand Village, because why else would they go to the Sand Village? But regardless, Gaara is badly injured, and he makes a deal with Matsuri that, hey, I won't resist, you just let the kids go. And as he's ready to ship the kids off, Shinki breaks free from the sand using his magnetic particle barrier palm and essentially seals Gaara inside of his Iron Sand before a claw grime could finish him off. And right there, I love this whole aspect and what it really represents, because if you're not taking in the entirety of the story when you're reading this part, you're probably just thinking like, oh snap, Shinki really didn't listen to his father at all and wanted to make sure he saved him. But if you look at it legitimately, now we have 3 fathers that are in some form or another sealed away, or 3 mentors, or 3 guides, so to speak, because now Gaara is officially sealed. Likewise, of course, with Naruto and Sasuke, he's not technically sealed, but yeah, he's been triified with the whole Shinju claw grime situation. But even above that, look at literally what is transpiring right here. Father tries to save son, son doesn't listen, and ultimately does something to seal his father away with the idea that he's protecting his father. Kawaki, Naruto, no. It really makes me wonder how long Kishimoto and Ikamoto had this whole thing planned out, because that's just brilliant. And it's crazy because while we look at Kawaki for what he did to Naruto and Hinata, sending them away as like this dastardly creature, like how could he, we're kind of looking at Shinki like, yo dog, you did your thing. And obviously different circumstances, they were literally in the middle of a massive battle where Matsuri was attacking, but that was what Kawaki was trying to prevent all along. He didn't want nothing bad to happen to Naruto. So definitely something to think about. But as Shinki finishes sealing up Gaara and the claw grimes go at him, he tells the others to let Kankuro know what happened, and he is absorbed by the claw grime, giving us the full backstory on how Shinki became Ryu, the Shinju tree guy. And it's kind of crazy that one of the villains, Matsuri, recognized Shinki's loyalty to Gaara even after being beaten and felt that he'd make a great teammate. So you got to think that these tree people, the Shinju, they definitely aren't all talk as far as like what they're saying of like, you know, we're gathering intel and we're becoming the best versions of ourselves. Like they legitimately have consciousness, they legitimately have intellect, they're not just creatures. And that's what I think makes them even more special and why they're being built up of, yeah, it was great to have, you know, oh, the 10 tails and oh look, these 10 tail clones, but what these things have become and how they've evolved, so to speak, just makes it that much more of a threat, that much more credible, and not just a mindless monster or a bunch of mindless monsters being slung by some, I don't want to call Code a dweeb. However, we cut back to present moment where Kankuro finishes telling Shikamaru the story and basically how no one can free Gaara, only Shinki because of the seal that he used. Again, who can free Naruto right now? Only Kawaki. But the interesting thing to note about that whole situation is that Shikamaru asked, have there been any other reports of claw grimes or any of those people in the Sand Village since then? And no, there hasn't been. Which likely means that again, not only was they legitimately only looking for Boruto, yeah, they have some way of knowing that he hasn't been there and that he won't be there. And also something that I think fans is gonna be able to chew on, so to speak, the fact that Kankuro tells Shikamaru, whatever you do, please just don't tell Temari about this, because at the end of the day, yeah, Gaara's her brother, she's gonna get worried and all sorts of stuff. So not only Shikamaru has the weight of the world as being Hokage, not only does he have the weight of the world of being the Hokage that has to believe in this kid that nobody else believes in, and he doesn't really necessarily completely believe in him because of his memories being altered, the whole situation with Boruto, now he gotta lie to his wife. And as he finishes his conversation with Kankuro, Sarada and Sumire are still in the office, and he basically lets them know, hey, tell me if y'all run into Boruto, y'all have any communication with him, because I want more intel. So he's still keeping up the facade at the same time. And at the very least, we know that Koji is still on the move, because as that all is transpiring, we see one of the toads sitting in Shikamaru's office. So at the very least, Koji is tapped in on the latest intel and what's happening in Konoha and the Sand Village, I guess. But we come back to the Shinju, and Ryu asks if his name is indeed Ryu, and Jura says, yeah, I gave it to you, big dog. And Ryu rocks with it because Ryu actually can mean grain of sand. So everybody that was legitimately questioning what the meaning and significance of Ryu was when we first saw the character a couple chapters back, there you go. And then we cut to where, ooh, do I rant now? Is it time to rant? Ryu says, hold up a sec, as he uses his iron sand to drag Code out of hiding. He was hiding in what appears to be that black box, and Jura tells Ryu to release him because we owe our existence to him. But fam, this whole scene was just embarrassing for the character Code. This whole scene in general, I was like, what are we doing here, fam? This whole scene just had me like, are Kishimoto and Ikamoto just keeping Code around to like bully and embarrass him? Like, what are we doing here? Because as he's being basically lifted up, Code is basically complaining, why aren't y'all devouring Otsutsuki, in a very demanding way, as if he doesn't realize the essence of, yo dog, you could think you're strong all you want, but these clearly have outclassed you, so like, what are you doing? And the Shinju, Jura himself says, yo dog, we got a bunch of other worries right now, we'll get to, you know, taking out the Otsutsuki. And also it looked as though Code had given them an idea potentially, because they wasn't even thinking about eating the chakra fruit until he brought it up, and then they were like, I wonder what would happen if we ate the chakra fruit, which I gotta imagine the same thing that would happen to anyone else, Kaguya or a regular person. But that's just a side note. They get into a disagreement, and Code tries to attack Jura, and yeah, his hand is chopped off. Bro, what are we doing here? They said that they wanted to kill off Code a long time ago, and he's still around, and they're not doing anything useful with him. This whole exchange was just ridiculous and really makes me feel like, bro, initially it felt like when Ukyo Kodachi was writing this manga that he really was going to build up Code to be like what Shigaraki was, how he started off as a scrub in My Hero Academia, and then eventually he became like this villain god type of being. It looked like it was supposed to go that way. At this point, I don't know if I could even feel, even if they make the transition, like he has to do something so explosive in order to really change the perception, because right now it's like, bro, the Shinju are lifting him up and treating him like nothing when he's the one that gave life to them to begin with. Him releasing his limiters back then only to be destroyed by Damon, a kid. Like, what are we doing here? Boruto and Kawaki manhandled him. Like, this is not good for this character. Like, it seems as though they only utilize him for little plot threads once in a while to keep the story going, but as far as him as a character, it's just like, it's not a good look, my lord. But Jura seems to have some sort of mercy, which yet again adds even further into their character development, because he's grateful to Code. He says he'll make a deal. Yo, dog, go kill Boruto and his accomplices, and we'll let you have the chakra fruit. You want to be one with Ishiki's will and all that? Good for you, lad. We'll let you do it. Which almost feels like they're putting him on a dummy crash out mission. Like, bro, what? Last time Code tried to go at them, we seen what happened. Like, why is Code still around? What's happening here? And after basically getting ridiculed by Bug, where Bug is enjoying Code's embarrassment, he says, yeah, alright, I'll do it, and smirk while you still can, because I'm gonna be the one who has the last laugh. I don't know about that, buddy. Right now, Kishimoto and Ikamoto are having the last laugh, okay? And he leaves with Ryu quipping, what a nasty creep. I want to kill him. Like, bro, this is so bad for Code. But one of the things where it really showcases that Jura is kind of almost like some sergeant of sorts, because he essentially pushes Ryu to vocalize who he wants to devour, which seems to be the case of what he constantly likes to do. Whenever one of these Shinju are brought back or created, he likes them to vocalize and put their purpose out into the air of who they want to take out. And of course, he wants to get rid of the 5th Kazekage of the Sand, Gaara, which even further adds to this whole situation of how, you know, Hidari being the Sasuke clone wants to take out Sarada. It's like they're trying to pit the kids versus the parents, all at the same time of making it some of them are bad, and just in general removing the parents from the scene. Like, Naruto, Sasuke, and Gaara were the 3 kids of tragedy from Naruto. Each of them had very similar but at the same time distinct backstories. Gaara, it was pretty much that everybody hated him and he had nobody from the jump all the way up until literally he runs into Naruto and them and they kind of help his life get better. Naruto had nobody from the beginning, but there wasn't nobody trying to assassinate him, so it wasn't as bad as Gaara, but he was still very alone. And then of course Sasuke grew up with his family until he was like, what, 4 or 5, and then the Uchiha massacre went down. So they all were the children of essentially similar upbringings and having tragic backstories, and to see that they're the 3 that have been removed from the series, have been treified, or well, Gaara and Naruto have been treified, but you get what I'm saying, the seals, the removal of the story. It's just interesting that this is the direction that they decided to go. However, we cut to what appears to be the 3rd and final act of the story, where Boruto and Kawaki are on the Hokage monument. And I'm gonna say right here, I was gonna save this for the end of the review, but just being real, it feels as though this chapter, especially this final conversation between Boruto and Kawaki, was structured and set up to be some sort of season finale for when the TV anime returns. That's all that this final scene kept screaming to me, outside of course all the greatness from the context of the story. But it's the fact that I feel like maybe when Boruto returns with the anime, this moment right here, if it comes back seasonal, will be the season finale leading into the next season. It was very reminiscent of how the Boruto anime ended in general, with Boruto and Kawaki being on the Hokage monument. It seems as though it's setting up for the next season and things to transpire. So after this chapter, I'm expecting a lot of big changes and at the same time big moments, because yeah, if the season is done, now they gotta set up and start structuring and working towards making another banging season. But Boruto asks Kawaki, yo dog, why you ain't attacking? And Kawaki says, why haven't you told Konoha the truth about me? What's going on here, fam? And Boruto breaks it down. Yo, some will believe me, some won't, and I don't want to cause confusion and division right now, which is very, very smart. Just props and kudos to Boruto being so strategic, so intelligent, so smart, so wise. Like legit, his teachings weren't a waste. I don't care what anybody says about Boruto's time skip. One of the major aspects you can never take away is the fact that Boruto as a character, strength-wise, everything and all of the above, what you would want, hope, and expect from a time skip this character came through and has. He even throws in that, yeah, you know, it's all good. They looking at me like I'm a criminal for right now, but at the very least, I've been able to gain unwavering strength thanks to my teachers. But Kawaki makes sure to start jumping into the conversation that he can't let go of, and that's that he asks Boruto, yo, so what's going on with the Momoshiki situation? And Boruto gives us more of an idea of what's been happening over the last 3 years with that situation of the Otsutsuki. Because apparently throughout the 3 years, Boruto almost never used the karma outside of 2 years ago when him and Sasuke were fighting against Code. He used karma for the first time since leaving the village, and that's when he sensed the same feeling he got when Momoshiki possessed him. Essentially, what I got from this little exchange and what he was saying about that is the more that he uses karma, the more it pushes Momoshiki to the surface and makes it easier for him to essentially take over. He goes on further to describe that it's a feeling where he stopped being himself and started dying while still conscious and aware. And since then, he hasn't used karma once. So literally, in 3 years, he only used karma one time, and that was when him and Sasuke were surrounded by the Claw, Grimes, and Code and whatnot. Other than that, he ain't used it, which that even puts him more on the map. So all the Boruto haters have been saying, aha, the only way they could get him stronger is by him using this karma, and he's not even using karma. But it is very interesting to note that apparently throughout these 3 years, Momoshiki's been quiet all 3 years, and the only thing Boruto thinks is that if he uses karma, it will cause him to emerge again. But I don't know if Momoshiki is just defeated from the circumstances, or this is just all a massive setup. But it'll be another video where I'll really dive into the fact that I think it's safe to say that Boruto is way too strong now for Momoshiki to have a little joyride in his body. Like, Momoshiki must stay dormant and never be able to take over Boruto's body, like, at all costs, because that is just too dangerous at this point. But after explaining all that, Boruto changes the subject like, yo dog, divine trees though, they a problem, and I can't beat Jura by myself. I need your help. After we defeat the divine trees, all fine and dandy, we can do whatever you want to do, but yeah, let's sort this out with the divine tree first. And then that's when he gets into the conversation that we kind of discussed already in the spoiler page that was released about a week ago now, where he says, hey, yo, Kawaki, you need to get stronger. Originally in this timeline, you were supposed to already let Naruto free, and he would have trained you, but at this particular point, that'll take too long, so there's a quicker way, which is still boggles my mind, this whole timeline situation. Like, legit, there's a timeline out there where Naruto is training Kawaki right now. Crazy. But he says, get Amado to talk. He's been hiding your power from you. Apparently Code wasn't the only one that had limiters on him, because Amado put limiters on Kawaki's offense, however boosted his defense and his regenerative abilities. Essentially, he has been utilizing Kawaki as like a walking computer that he can upgrade and update whatever he sees fit. Like, Amado is just a monster in disguise, because it goes even further where we see Amado in some sort of control room watching the whole exchange between Boruto and Kawaki via Kawaki's eyes. So possibly this entire time, more than likely, Amado has been watching everything that goes down in the Naruto universe via Kawaki. That is crazy as heck to even think about. And that also adds in Amado knowing about the toad from Koji, so he knows Koji's there. He just doesn't know what Koji's motives are at this particular point. But this blows things even further out the water as far as, yeah, we already know Amado can't be trusted. We've seen him do snake stuff and little slippery, sneaky stuff time and time again. This further cements, like, this guy is no good at all. And everything we thought about Amado and his agenda, so to speak, is seemingly coming to fruition. Boruto reaffirms, yo, Amado is only using you for your karma, for his own agenda. Like, he doesn't really care. But still, like, Amado has been upgrading and updating, like, just treating Kawaki like he's a cyborg or something. Honestly, the mystery of Amado continues to deepen, and it's just getting crazier. It's madness. And after all of that, Kawaki still says, yo dog, but I ain't changing my opinion. All Otsutsuki must die, including me and you. He's like, I gotta make sure my main character trait and why I did all of this to begin with stays intact in the reader's minds, baby. But he goes on further to say, but we'll start with those trees first, and we'll get rid of them by any means, even if it means partnering up. And honestly, I don't know how I feel about these last couple of lines where they talking about partnering up, and Boruto says, you better not weigh me down, bro, which Kawaki follows up with, right back at you, jerk. And while yes, that definitely felt like a season finale 110% for the anime, there was was a major part about this thing that I was kind of like, we literally just went through 3 years of Boruto going through hell, having to figure it all out because of this guy right here. And I get it, y'all gotta partner up, so put the squabbles to the side for now in order to go in unison to take out the divine trees. But I don't know how Boruto could stomach it. Being next to this dude that literally wants to kill you, wants to destroy you, thinks that you're just horrible. Not only that, turn the entire Hidden Leaf Village, including your little sister, against you. I mean, I get the mission at hand, but geez. And with all that being said, another fantastic chapter with so much that happened. How did you feel about how Gaara fell and how Shinki maneuvered and that whole mirroring situation of Naruto, Sasuke, and Gaara all being sealed away in one form or another, and especially that Shinki sealed his parent away to protect him the same way Kawaki did. But we will look at Kawaki like he's a bad guy. We will look at Shinki like, oh, how honorable, just because of the extra circumstances within their situations. Also, how did you feel about Amado basically watching the entirety of the Boruto story via Kawaki's eyes? Like, what? And Boruto and Kawaki getting ready to team up. How do you think Boruto is gonna power Kawaki up, other than of course talking to Amado? Because you can talk to Amado all day, but if Amado doesn't want to comply, then yeah, we have a situation. And your overall thoughts and expectations. That's all I have for this one though. I'm Tim. As always, people, have an awesome day. Subscribe and hit that bell to get more. Thank you so much.
Stop playing games, you know I'm not stupid. I'm not a dummy, who the f*** you think you're fooling? You don't like me, you damn sure don't love me.